welcome to the first installment of the JA Conversation series. My name is Josh and I'm the founder of JA, a fashion brand taking a holistic approach to sustainability. In this series, we'll be talking to people who are moving things forward in their chosen field or just have great information to share, whether that be in fashion, arts and culture, or health and well-being. In this first installment, I had the chance to have a conversation with Nora Eslander, brand manager at Renewcell, an innovative textile recycling company.
My name is Nora Eslander and I work as the brand manager at Renewcell. And I've been working at Renewcell for about a year now, a really exciting year for us. So I'm happy to be on board. And a bit of background from Renewcell. We're a Swedish textile recycling company. So it was founded about 10 years ago by a bunch of scientists who discovered this special technology or process for how to decompose the cellulose in cotton and make new material from it. So together with some entrepreneurs, they founded a company, and today we're actually producing this material at industrial scale and launching clothes in stores together with brands,
Wow.
which is really cool. But it's been kind of a journey for about 10 years, and now we're really working on scaling up this technology so that we can actually make a change in the fashion industry and create circularity in an industry that has been very linear for a long time.
Yeah, extremely. No, that's really exciting. You work specifically with waste materials. Is that right?
Yeah, we work with any discarded textiles. So we buy the textile from sorters and collectors. So it can be both post-industrial and it can also be post-consumer waste. The most important part for us is that we want to be the last step. So we don't want to take clothes that can be resold or used or amended in any way. We want to use the clothes that cannot be used anymore. So kind of keeping the hierarchy of the textile waste.
Yeah, exactly. You want to keep those garments in the cycle as long as possible. People wearing them, getting the most out of them. And when that's not possible anymore, they come to you.
Exactly.
So what are some of the sources that you receive these garments? How do you
it depends. One of our new partnerships, or we've been working with them for a long time, is a company called Bank and Vogue. So they're this Canadian company that has stores, secondhand stores around the world, beyond retro. We have it in Sweden, and I know they have stores in UK as well. So they sort and collect all kinds of clothes, and the ones that they cannot sell in their stores, they sell to us so that we can buy it and use it in our factory where we produce our material. So that's one kind of partnerships, but we work with different sorters and collectors of textile waste.
Okay, yeah. So tell me a little bit about the process of once you've received those garments. What happens then? How does that work?
Yeah, of course. We take the garments into our plant. We have a plant here in Sweden, in Kristinehamn, where we take in the clothes and we take away. First of all, we take away the zippers and buttons and all the metals that cannot be recycled. Then we shred the material, or we shred the clothes into smaller pieces, and this then goes into these different steps where it becomes new material. So the first step is a chemical step, where we separate out synthetics such as elastane and polyester and so on. And then what remains is basically pure cellulose, which is then dried into sheets of circulose, which is our material and what we sell. So we produce dissolving pulp, which is it can be difficult for anyone who's not really into all the fiber technology. But it's usually made from wood. So it's usually dissolving wood pulp, which you then use to make fibers from. And these fibers then goes into the supply chain of clothes. So you make the yarn, and you spin the fabric, and then it becomes new clothes. So we're really at the end of the supply, or the beginning of the supply chain of producing clothes. Yeah,
you're at the start again, and then so maybe a textile mill will purchase that from you. Is that correct? And
yeah. So it's first made into fibers, and then yarn, and then fabric. So it's all these kind of different steps, but our place in the supply chain is kind of to close the loop between the waste that cannot be used, and then the first step of producing pulp, which is then made into fibers and clothes and so on. So kind of closing the loop on this supply chain that has been very linear. So we produce clothes, and then we throw it away, and it turns on landfill and so on. But instead, we're actually using that waste in a new way.
And then, so once something's been made out of circulose, how many times can it go through that process, or is it an infinite thing?
I mean, we haven't really recycled circulose, because we want our garments to be used longer. But we know, and we've done tests, so we know that it can be recycled up to 7 times, which is the same as for paper, and keep the same quality. Of course, it can be recycled even more, but to remain the same quality up to 7 times. Yeah.
But it's biodegradable or compostable?
Yeah, exactly. It's biodegradable as well.
Okay. Oh, so under what conditions is it biodegradable? Is it need to be? Is it an industrial process, or could somebody?
I'm actually not sure the process for. I know we've done different tests on it, but I'm not sure under which conditions. I think that's. I actually don't know that.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And then, so in terms of the chemicals that you're using to break down the garments, are those like non-toxic chemicals, or are they?
Yeah, of course they're non-toxic, and we're in Sweden, where we have our plant, it's highly regulated when it comes to chemicals. So we don't use any chemicals that can be harmful, and we also use the chemicals in a very closed loop. So, for example, we use water in our process, but the water is then cleaned from any chemical, and it can actually be released out to the river next to the plant again once we've used it. So it's really about creating the systems closed loop, so we don't have a big of an impact that other productions have.
Yeah, that's quite nice. So you've got your kind of the energy sources that you're using on a loop, as well as the product that's coming out.
Yeah,
that's
definitely
nice. Yeah. And then, so in terms of uses of circulose, have you had kind of have you put it out to market? Is it in the market yet? Can people get it?
Yeah. So we started producing at industrial scale back in 2018, 19. And then we had our first sale of batch of circulose. So in last year, 2020. We had our first launches. So we made a dress together with H&M, a blue dress, which was out in stores in March. And then during the summer in July, we actually launched denim jeans together with Levi's.
Okay.
So that's our 2 first launches, and then we have our next launch coming up with a Danish fashion house called Bestseller, who's also going to launch this year. So we have different launches coming up, but that's the one that's official as of now. But we're excited to get even more clothes out there. So you can actually buy the jeans and the dress in stores right now.
What was the feedback from the jeans and the dress? Have you
really great? So the denim jeans with Levi's, the important aspect for us there was to show that this is the same quality and the same pair of Levi's that you would purchase anyway. It's just made in a much more sustainable and circular way. So the feedback from that launch was really great, and cool. Really happy with them. We're looking forward to getting even more garments and showing what is possible to do with circular innovative materials as today.
Yeah. And your I saw your collaboration with H&M. They're obviously a massive global brand. Somewhat controversially, they've had some allegations against them in terms of paying their workers fairly and how their workers are treated. So what's your view on working with such a massive brand and one with maybe a checkered reputation?
Yeah, of course. I mean, H&M has been really great for us and in our scaling of production. They've invested in us, and they've also been engaged in developing this collaboration. So they have been very important for us. And in general, our mission is to change the whole industry. So we want to make a real impact on this huge industry, which is the fashion industry. And that has to be done at scale. So you have to change the really big brands and the big productions to make the real change. And I mean, we love collaborating with the smaller, sustainably born brands as well, because we love what they're doing. It's so important, and the work is really important for the change. But it's also important to make a change where it's much harder and where most of the impact comes from. So for us, that's kind of our view on it, that if we want to make a change in the fashion industry, we have to do it at this large global scale. And that's also our mission with building our next factory, which we're in the midst of doing right now, to produce at the larger scales.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to scales, but it's it's just so important in this industry that you make the big impact.
Yeah, you need the large volume, and I think obviously H&M can provide that.
Exactly.
And I think they've got a new CEO now, things like that. And I think they're putting in some new codes of conduct and things like that to try and tackle.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can always develop and do better things. I mean, H&M has a lot of great initiatives, so it's also important to give the credit they deserve in those areas.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned briefly that a new factory or a new plant that you're building. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So this year has really been a big year for us because we've signed the agreement for our next plant. So it's going to be here in Sweden as well, up in Sundsvall, where we're building this much larger plant, and it's going to be able to produce up to 60,000 tons of material a year, circulose a year, which is about half of Sweden's textile what do you call it, purchase each year. So it's a huge step for us. It's a small step in the industry because it is such a, I mean, the volumes we're speaking about in terms of the whole industry is crazy, but for us it's really important that we can produce much more so that we can sell to even more brands. So we're in the middle of building the plant this year. Last year we focused on the financing part. Now we're building the plant, and it's going to be up and running next year, so 2022.
Yeah. I saw you recently IPO'd, so you're a public company now. So
yes.
What was some of the kind of thoughts and strategy behind that? Was that part of the scaling up idea, or?
Yeah, so that was part of the financing for the next plant, to get the money we need to build this huge plant, because it is quite costly. So that was the one part of the IPO as well.
Yeah. And then in the future, have you got any kind of any plans to build plants outside of Sweden?
Yeah, of course. So our plan is to keep building more and more factories. So this is just the first step, and then hopefully in some years we have around the world, so that we can also produce in different areas where it's needed and where the fiber production and the textile production is taking place as well. So definitely in our 10-year plan. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What kind of scales or volumes do you need to get to in order to really make a dent on the
It,
industry?
I mean, it's a really really big industry, so you can.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do too much, but so for us, I mean, we've been able to launch clothes in stores,
Mm.
but the goal is, of course, that people can walk into a store and choose clothes made from Circulose. So that's also like a big part of why we're branding Circulose to the customer
Hmm.
is a strategy to make it easier for a consumer to make conscious choices. So today it's kind of a jungle out there. What is sustainable? What is sustainability? How is it produced?
Yeah.
Like the regular customers don't really know the story behind the production of clothes.
Hmm.
So we're trying to brand Circulose in a way where um, it can fit into all the clothes, and people can just walk into a store and recognize immediately that, okay, this is something recycled from old clothes, and then you know intuitively that it's better for the environment.
They can feel safe in that choice. They can pick up Circulose and not have
Yeah,
to
exactly.
yeah,
That's
worry too
the
much.
main goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So do you have any kind of plans to work with some smaller brands, or any like concept projects, or
Yeah, I mean, one part that we're doing with Circulose and talking about circularity, in a having a broader conversation about around it. So we also want to influence culture, because culture needs to change as well. It's
yeah,
great that the bigger brands can just adopt this material into their
yeah,
existing production chain, but it's also important that we change the way we look at the fashion, or anything for that matter, and look at it from a more circular perspective. So that's
mhm,
also something we're using the platform Circulose to talk about these issues. So we're doing something called Circulose Projects,
okay,
which is a platform for us to do different projects around circularity. Doesn't have to be necessarily producing clothes, it can be other things. For example, we made a hanger from our material. So
okay,
instead of using it and doing fibers, we kind of shaped the paper-like pulp into a hanger, and talked about the issue of hangers and how we're using and discarding hangers within
yeah,
the industry.
yeah,
So kind of these different projects, and we have more to come this year as well, which I'm really excited about, working with smaller designers and artists around these different topics, just to start the conversation and to actually discuss these issues, but also do in a very cool and
mhm,
visually nice way, so that it
yeah,
doesn't have to be downgrading. It's more about upcycling something.
yeah, yeah. That's quite interesting with the hangers. Have you come across any other use cases for Circulose that could be interesting?
Yeah, we've also tried different testing, nothing set about different packaging, which could
Okay.
be really nice as well.
Mm,
But because I mean, that's kind of the point with the hanger as well. We're actually transporting our clothes in a way that's really unsustainable. So if you just look
mm,
at the plastic packaging or the paper packaging and so on, just to get our clothes from A to B, it's really unsustainable today. So definitely something we're looking into as well. If you can use, I mean, there's so much textile waste out there. So if you can use it in other ways as well, I think that would be really cool.
yeah, yeah. I think you might have seen on that blog there I featured companies using mycelium, so using mushrooms as
Yeah,
packaging as well. So yeah, people are trying to
really
find
cool.
innovative ways to use these kind of products. Um, so your material is based off the chemical cellulose. Um, so have you thought about using kind of any kind of agricultural waste, or things of that nature? Or,
Yeah, I mean,
um,
we're looking into different things. I mean, for now, there's so much cotton waste out there, textile waste. So it's not
mm,
really, it hasn't become an issue, and I don't think it will
yeah,
for many years.
yeah. Have you seen an impact from COVID on your industry at all? Has that played any kind of part?
So in general, I think it's been the same as for the rest of the society. I mean, factories have had to close down, and lockdowns has caused different delays and so on. But I think from our perspective, we've been very fortunate in Sweden. We've been able to start continue our process and production. So, but in a broader perspective, I think it has actually accelerated for us, because we've noticed that some brands have taken the time to actually take a step back and consider their supply chain, look at their supply chain, what are we doing here, what's
Yeah,
happening, and then contacted us to see how can we change this and how can we make it more sustainable. So I think it's very unfortunate for the company that have had to slow down and close down
yeah,
and so on, but it has also given them the time to reflect upon their production and what they're actually selling and so on. So definitely some positive from it as well in terms of sustainability.
yeah. So have you found that part easy in terms of are brands reaching out to you, wanting to be able to use Circulose or collaborate with you, or have you had to do quite a lot of marketing to kind of get it out there? How's that been?
So it's definitely a mix. I mean, we've reached out to a lot of companies that we want to work with, but we're
Mm-hmm.
fortunate enough to that this is something that everybody is looking for. A
Mm,
lot of brands want to make a change and they want to become more sustainable and circular and so on. But I mean, it's difficult if you don't know how.
yeah,
So definitely a lot of brands and designers so on reaching out just to hear more. We've been in discussion with a lot of brands. I think it's about around 100 brands. So the discussion is definitely there, the interest is there, but then of course it's also another thing to actually take the step and integrate it into your supply chain and produce the clothes and so on.
yeah,
But it's amazing to see the interest that's out there to make a change in many brands. Yeah.
yeah. So how did you come to work at Renewcell? What was your kind of introduction to this world of sustainability and textile?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to work in fashion and to do something with it, but I mean, it's also a very scary industry and polluting industry. And the last
Mm,
couple of years, I realized that I don't know if I want to work with this and selling this, if I can't do it in a sustainable way.
mm,
And then I found Renewcell, and that was like the perfect match of doing something that is actually making a real change, and hopefully it will have a big impact on the whole industry. I mean, that's our mission, to change fashion. It's
mhm.
not very humble, but it's it's definitely an interesting mission. So I think I just realized that this is a company that's doing something, actually doing a real change.
Mm, mm. And there seems to be a lot of innovation coming from Sweden, Finland. Uh, what do you think drives that kind of innovation from that part of the world? Why do you think that is?
I mean, in some parts, it's interesting why it's specifically Sweden, and as you say, Finland as well. I mean, Stockholm has had so many great green tech companies
Mm,
last couple of years, and also within this area. It's definitely a mix of different things. From our perspective, or from our company, it was started at a university, so it was scientists who had
mm,
the resources to start doing these kind of things. So it's definitely comes from that as well. And also, I think just in general, you can really see the interest in sustainability here in Sweden. It's very clear. It's growing all around the world, but I mean,
yeah,
some parts has come further than others. And I think Sweden is definitely one of those countries. And for another example is here in Sweden, we just this last year had a new production responsibility kind of law.
Okay.
It came out where the producers of textiles will have to make sure that they take care of the waste that they produce and that comes from them, which is a really big step in this industry to actually hold the producers and the brands responsible for what they're producing. I think that is really remarkable, and I really look forward to seeing the result from this and how it will impact how they produce and how we discard and how we recycle the clothes.
And so when did that legislation come in? Was that
I think it was released the December, November,
okay?
2020. So they've been working on it, and we've been part of the project as well and discussing these issues. But I think the legislation will start this year, I think.
Okay.
So it's a huge step, and it's going to be really interesting to watch how it evolves. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you've got members of the team who are kind of liaising with maybe governmental figures on these practices and what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's also one part. I mean, Swedish government is working with this very actively. So they've reached out in different forums and projects and asked for our opinion because we're working with this. So we have a lot of knowledge within the company of this and what we need as a recycling company. Yeah, we've been engaged in different projects with this, which is really great for us as well.
What are the kind of what are the major milestones for Renewcell next? What's the big goals? The next few big goals?
I think what we're really focusing on now is getting the plant up and running up in Sundsvall. That's going to be a huge milestone for us. And once that's up, we hopefully can just continue our upscaling. But then also we're excited to get out more clothes and to launch with different brands. So we want to show that there's really diversity in what we can do and in the quality of the clothes that we can produce. So to not saying too much, but I think there's some really cool projects and launches coming up this year that's going to be huge for us as well.
Great, that's really exciting. Yeah, definitely be looking out for those. Yeah, this has been really informative. I've definitely learned a lot.
Cool, that's good.
Where can people find out more about Circulose and Renewcell? How can they find out more?
We have two websites. So we have the Renewcell website and we have Circulose as well. So renewcell.com and circulo.se, where we have a bunch of information and about what we're doing and so on. And I think in terms of social media, I think Instagram is where we're mostly active and updating about different things happening within the company. So if you want to keep the updates, I think Instagram would be the best way to reach us. And also reach out if you have any questions or want to learn more, please reach out. We're happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and any small brands out there with good ideas for what Circulose could be used for,
please
definitely reach out to that. So that you've got a collaboration tool or
yeah, so you can actually, if it's about brand or project, you can reach us at projects@circulo.se. But it says on the website as well, there's some information about these projects we're doing as well. So please reach out if you have any ideas, small or big. We're just really excited to hear anything.
Great. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens for Renewcell in the year ahead.
Yeah, cool.
It's really cool innovation. Yeah, we'll keep in touch and wish you the best of luck over the next few years.
No, perfect. Thank you so much for having me and us.